Hello everyone, welcome to Enbreason, the daily current affairs news analysis by Team Enlight. The topics we shall be discussing today are reintroduction of cheetah in India, Amazon of Europe, Matsya Sampada Yojana, and the AUKUS Pact. So the first topic is reintroduction of cheetah in India and why was this in news? So India will be getting 8 to 12 cheetahs from South Africa in the end of November. They will be introduced to the Kuno Palpur Wildlife Sanctuary in Madhya Pradesh. What is meant by reintroduction? First of all, it means a species will be released in an area where it is capable of surviving. Reintroductions of large carnivores have increasingly become recognized as a strategy to conserve the threatened species. So over here, all the wildlife sanctuaries where which could form the possible habitat for the African cheetah have been mentioned. That is the Shagad, Kuno Palpur, and the Noradeshi Wildlife Sanctuary. And in the end, they chose Kuno Palpur as the best for reintroduction of the African cheetah in India. So some facts related to cheetah. So first of all, it is the fastest land animal and it is native to Africa and central Iran. So previously the cheetah was also found in India, but later it became extinct and there were discussions where India asked Iran to give them some Asian cheetahs for reintroduction, but Iran had denied these requests. Then the IUCN status of it is vulnerable and it was declared extinct as I told you previously in 1952 in India. The Asiatic cheetah, which is now found only in Iran, is classified as critically endangered species by the IUCN Red List. Why Kuno Palpur National Park was selected? So Kuno is located in the Chambal region and this forest is a dry deciduous forest. It has scrublands etc. similar to savanna forest which is the original habitat of the African cheetah. Also, a considerable population of four-horned antelopes, nilgai, chinkara, spotted deer, wild boar, etc. are present, which form good prey for the cheetahs. So, some information about the program itself. So, Cheetah Reintroduction Program was prepared by the Wildlife Institute of India and it is being taken care by the National Tiger Conservation Authority, which is a statutory body under the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. So, these are certain important points which you must remember. So let's move on to the next topic for today, that is the Amazon of Europe. So why was this in news? So UNESCO has declared the Mura, Drava and Danube as the world's first five-country biosphere reserve as the Amazon of Europe. So it is 1 million hectare land that is including these three riverbeds, that is Mura, Drava, Danube is now the largest riverine protected area in Europe. As you can see over here, all the countries which are involved in this map and the rivers. So about the Mura, Drava and Danube Reserve. So this biosphere reserve covers around 700 kilometers and it stretches across Austria, Slovenia, Croatia, Hungary and Serbia. It is the largest riverine protected area in Europe and it is home to several different types of geographical features like floodplain forests, gravel and sandbanks, river islands, oxbow and meadows. Also, it is home to Europe's highest density of white-tailed eagle as well as endangered species like the little tern, blackstock, otter, beavers and sturgeons. Also, a lot of birds, migratory birds, come here for feeding and resting. Plus, it basically this plan is for river revitalization, sustainable business practices, enhancing cross-border cooperation into focus. So, one of the example of such a project is the Interreg Danube Transnational Program funded by the Amazon of Europe Bike Trail. It's basically part of the money which is there for booking this bike trail goes for sustainable development as well as conservation of this region. So now we'll come to what is a biosphere reserve. So it is an international designation by the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization UNESCO for representative parts of natural and cultural landscapes extending over large areas of terrestrial or coastal marine ecosystems. So this basically these biosphere reserves try to balance economic and social development and maintenance of associated cultural values along with preservation of nature. So there are three basic functions of a biosphere reserve. The first one is conservation function, basically to conserve the genetic resources, species, ecosystems, landscapes, etc. Next is the development function, that is to promote sustainable human and economic development. And the last one is logistic support function, that is to support for research and analyzing the issues of conservation and sustainable development. So over here, this figure shows the different biosphere reserves across the world. And over here you can see the biosphere reserves network which is there in India, starting from Nanda Devi to Agastya Malai, Great Nicobar, etc. It's important from PRIM's point of view. So next, this is an important question, that is what is the difference between a national park and a biosphere reserve. So basically a national park is a reserved area of land owned by the government which is protected from industrialization, human exploitation and pollution. Whereas a biosphere reserve is a term given to an area of conservation of the resources of the biosphere and improvement of the relationship between man and the environment. Next, over here, this figure shows what are the three different areas in a biosphere reserve. There is a core area where there is basically wildlife and forest available. Then we have the buffer area where certain activities like tourism is allowed, education and training can be done, housing can be done, and then there is the transition area. So over here, only very briefly, I shall be discussing the benefits of a biosphere reserve. So it provides practical ways to resolve land use conflicts and protect biological diversity. Then next is biosphere reserves encourage diverse local economies to revitalize local areas. It Biosphere reserves attract academic and government research activities. Then over here it raises awareness among local people, citizens, etc. regarding environment and development issues. So you can take a lot of points from these benefits. So the next topic is Matsya Sampada Yojana. And why was this in news? India is pushing for wide exemptions in curbing subsidy for fishermen under current WTO negotiations to protect the livelihood of fishermen and prevent any hampering of in the ambitious PM Matsya Sampada Yojana. So what is the PMMSY? It is a flagship scheme for focused and sustainable development of the fisheries sector in the country as part of the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. So aims, what are the different aims? First one is adopt a cluster and area based approach in order to create fisheries clusters through backward and forward linkages. Focus specially on employment generation activities such as seaweed and ornamental fish cultivation. Address critical gaps in fish production, productivity, quality, technology, post harvest infrastructure, management, modernization, and strengthening of value chain, traceability, etc. Then consolidate the achievements of Blue Revolution and bring new interventions such as fishing vessel insurance, upgradation of fishing vessels, integrated aqua parks, e-trading, marketing, etc. So, what are the different targets of this scheme? First of all, additional 70 lakh tons in increase in fisheries production and export earnings of 1 lakh crore by 2024 to 25. Then double the income of fishers and fisher farmers. Then we must reduce the post harvest loss to 10%, which are currently around 20 to 25%, and generate an additional 55 lakh direct and indirect gainful employment opportunities in the fisheries sector. First of all, genetic improvement of commercially important fish species and nucleus breeding center for self-reliance in shrimp broodstock. Then promotion of fisheries and aquaculture along with promotion of incubation centers, sea ranching, encouraging innovation, entrepreneurship. Then use of blockchain technology, certification, accreditation, etc. of hatcheries, farm, etc. Then coastal fishing communities, we must have modern fishing villages should be created. Then fish farmer producer organizations must be encouraged. Then development of aqua parks to house modern aquariums. Then support services through Sagar Mitras would be provided, and insurance coverage for fishing vessels. So the next and the last topic is the AUKUS Pact. Why was this in news? So the UK, US, and Australia have announced a historic security pact in the Asia Pacific in what is seen as an effort to counter China. It is called the AUKUS Pact and AUKUS Alliance. What is the AUKUS Pact? It is the three nations have agreed to enhance the development of joint capabilities and technology sharing, foster deeper integration of security and defense related science, technology, industrial bases, and supply chains. And the first major initiative of the AUKUS, Australia would have built a fleet of nuclear powered submarines with the help of US and UK, a capability aimed at promoting stability in the Indo Pacific region. So, two countries have actually expressed their displeasure on this pact. Number one is China, because this pact is basically not directly said, but basically focused to counter China in the Asia Pacific, South China Sea area, etc. Also, France has expressed its displeasure because now the Australia will be buying its submarines and creating submarines with the help of US and UK and leaving out France. So, China's response on this has been it has condemned the agreement as extremely irresponsible, and they have said it undermines the regional peace and stability and intensifies the arms race, and it shall reinvent a Cold War mentality and ideological prejudice. So, already the relations between Australia and China have not been great because, as Australia has asked for an investigation in China over the origins of the COVID-19 virus. Subsequently, China had put certain tariffs, etc., on Australia on its exports. So the relations between the two countries have already not been great recently. So, the rationale behind the formation of this alliance, the new partnership was announced as a joint virtual press conference, and China was not mentioned directly, but the three leaders referred repeatedly to the regional security concerns, which they had said have grown significantly as China is trying to make a stronghold in the South China Sea region and wants an independent, complete control in the South China Sea. Then Beijing has been accused of raising tensions and disputed territories, as I have already mentioned. Then Western nations have been wary of China's infrastructure investment on Pacific islands and also criticized China's trade sanctions against countries like Australia. So over here, I've shown what constitutes the Asia Pacific region. So, why nuclear powered submarines? We must know briefly what are nuclear powered submarines and why they are better. So, these submarines are much faster and harder to detect than conventionally powered fleets. They can be submerged for months and shoot missiles longer distance and can also carry more missiles. Uh, Having them stationed in Australia is critical to US influence in the region. The US is sharing its submarine technology for the first time in 50 years. It had previously only shared the technology with the UK. Australia will become just the seventh nation in the world to operate nuclear powered submarines. Previously, US, UK, France, China, India, and Russia only had this technology. Australia has reaffirmed that it has no intention of obtaining nuclear weapons. So, thank you for listening and have a great day ahead.